Welcome to the 18th video in the Secrets to Drawing video course brought to you by thevirtualinstructor.com. In this video, we're going to take a look at our first colored medium, colored pencils. Colored pencils are a drawing medium that are waxy shafts of pigment encased inside of wood. Brands of colored pencils vary greatly in quality and in price. Higher quality colored pencils are going to produce better results. Colored pencils are probably the most misused medium because they are so readily available to anyone. But there are certain things that you can do when using colored pencils to ensure quality. There are basically 5 things we want to keep in mind when using colored pencils. The first thing is we want our finished image to look like it's been heavily applied. So basically we're going to build up colors, which brings us to the second thing, layer colors. Put one color on top of another color. And you should always mix your colors. Don't just grab a green, mix yellow and blue to make a green. Take your time. Colored pencils are a drawing medium that take time to do right. And then add your details last, right on top of what you've already drawn. So we're going to keep these things in mind as I go through this demonstration. I'm going to be drawing a sea turtle in this demonstration. You'll notice that I'm drawing with colored pencil right from the start. I haven't picked up a graphite pencil at all. In fact, I don't want my drawing to begin as a graphite drawing, because when I start to layer colored pencils on top of the graphite, some of the graphite may mix with the colored pencil medium. It will turn areas gray, which is something that I don't want to happen. I want to keep my drawing as clean as possible. So my entire drawing will be done with colored pencils. As I become more confident with what I've drawn, I can begin to get a little darker with my marks, and I can start to add some of the details that I see. Now I'm ready to start in the darkest area that I see, and in this case it's the eye of the turtle. So I'm going to start with a dark brown, and I'm going to fill in that area completely. Then I'm going to go on top of it with a dark blue. Now this will mix to make a more natural looking black. In fact, in this drawing demonstration, I'm not going to use any black colored pencil at all. Black tends to make things look really flat, and for this drawing I don't want anything to look flat, so I want to create natural blacks. In order to create these natural blacks, I'll use a dark brown and a dark blue. Now, the first spot I'm drawing here, I start with a little bit of brown, and then I'm going over the top of it with a little bit of red, and then maybe a little bit more brown. I'm trying to build up the color, so I'm layering one color on top of another. If I have an area that's really dark, I'll use a little bit of blue with that brown to make it dark. And then I'm going to take this cream color and go over the top of everything that I've drawn. Doing this will burnish those colors together. Burnishing is basically using the waxy part of the pencil to blend and mix the colors right on the surface. Successful colored pencil drawings are almost dependent on burnishing. You will need to have some areas that do have a level of burnishing, which will happen naturally when you layer your colors. The softer, waxier pencils will be easier to burnish. Some colored pencil manufacturers even make colorless blenders, which are basically pencils with just colorless wax in them, specifically made for burnishing and mixing and blending colors. I tend to like to use lighter valued colors like cream or even white to burnish. I'll be doing a lot of burnishing in this drawing. Now that I've got a large majority of my turtle's head completed, I'm going to start to work my way to the left. Ordinarily, I would start from the left and work to the right since I'm right-handed. This may better suit you for your drawing, but in this case, the turtle's head is pretty important. That's why I was drawn to start there at the beginning of this drawing. You'll notice I'm using the cream color as the base color for the skin of my turtle. Then I'm going over the top of it with yellow, a little bit of orange and brown, and even some white to lighten up some areas. I can go right on top of these areas with the dark brown and add details with my pencil nice and sharp. So here you can really see the importance of layering your colors, also mixing your colors, and then adding your details last to the area. You can achieve this with high quality colored pencils. I'll point out here that I'm working on gray drawing paper instead of a white surface. The reason why I'm choosing to work on gray paper is because it allows me to start with a tonality right from the beginning. Instead of just working with white and trying to work from lighter values to darker values, starting in the middle of a value scale helps me to really push my values in either direction. It also allows for the colors to really pop and stand out against a neutral background. The turtle's fin on the far side has a little bit of shadow underneath it. I'm going to address this by first coloring it cream, then going over the top of it with blue and a little bit of brown, and then burnishing that in with the cream color. Then again, I'll add more brown, and then a bit more blue. Then I'll burnish that area in. That's going to create a realistic shadowed area. Notice how many layers it took to achieve that. I can continue to add details on different areas of the turtle over areas that have already built up many layers. I'll address all of the spots generally the same by starting with the dark brown, adding a bit of red on top of it, a little bit of blue in areas that need to be a little bit darker, and then burnishing those areas with cream. I'll continue to work backwards. You'll notice on the underside of the turtle that we have a little bit more shadow. I'm going to address that shadow much in the same way that I addressed the shadow on the far fin earlier. I start with a little bit of blue, a little bit of cream burnished in, and then more brown. Then I'll continue to build that and repeat that process until my shadow looks realistic. Now I'm ready to address the shell of the turtle. Each one of the segments of the shell of the turtle is much like the spots, so I'm going to approach them the same way. I'm going to start with dark brown, add a bit of red, and then I'm going to add the cream on top. Once the area is burnished, I can go back and add details right on top of the layers I've created. I'll continue to work my way backwards, repeating the process for each segment of the shell. At this point in time, I'm about 45 minutes to an hour into the drawing. You can see that colored pencil drawing is a very time-consuming process. In order to do it right, you've got to put the time into it. Some of the shells on the back end of the turtle have a little bit darker areas, so I'm going to make sure to add a little bit more blue in those areas to make those areas appear naturally black. I'll continue the process of layering colors and burnishing colors to get them so that they look realistic and believable. I'll approach the back fin the same way that I approached the front fin, by putting down dark brown first and then going over the top of it with dark blue. I'll add a bit of green because there is a little bit of reflection of the green water that the sea turtle is swimming in my photo reference. In order to make it look realistic, I'll need to include this as well. Now I'll erase any stray marks that may be left. I could choose to put my sea turtle in a sea of water, but for this demonstration the gray paper provides nice contrast. So what did we learn in this video? Well, hopefully you learned some colored pencil drawing techniques. Like, for one thing, we need to make sure that our drawings look like the color has been heavily applied. We do that by layering colors on top of other colors and building up the colors so that they appear heavy. We also need to mix our colors. Seldom will you need to use a color that isn't mixed with some other color as well. Mixed colors appear more natural. Hopefully you also picked up that colored pencil drawing is a time-consuming process when done correctly, so take your time. We also learned that if we want to be successful, once we've built up those layers, we can add those details last. Don't get too obsessed with the details at the beginning because you're going to be putting many layers of color on. In the next video in the series, we're going to take a look at our next color drawing medium, oil pastels.